Hello everyone, this is...
The Lordran Times.
Yes, and I'm your host today, Prince Paper, and joining me is...
Mask, one of the admins, and somebody who's been around since the very earliest days of main canon.
Indeed. Speaking of the earliest days of canon, today we will be discussing Old Canon.
I mean, I'd rather not be reciting the whole history over and over at people in VC, so I think that this will be quite useful.
Okay, well, let's start us off. How did main canon begin?
It started off with Mythic and Sirion, as you know, and...
First off, who are these characters? Who is Mythic, for those who don't know?
For a while then, he was actually one of the biggest figures in main canon. One could call him heroic or adventurous, but his personality was generally kind of bland. He thought that dragons could be used to seal off the abyss. I'm still not sure where he got this theory from.
Maybe some online comic that isn't canon, that his character would have no way of having read.
Yep, probably.
Anyway, so yeah, Sirion?
Honestly, compared to all of the other characters in Old Canon, he looks like a man completely out of his time, because he's the only straight man of the group that you'll ever see in Old Canon. He also sort of served as a wise old man, but at certain points then Old Canon's shenanigans just got so caught up they actively left the group for a while.
I believe it.
Soon enough, then, me and some guy called Lumen thought the roleplay was interesting enough, so we were just like, mind if I cut in? And so we did.
I'm guessing you didn't play Escalar all that time ago, though.
Correct, my first character was Balder Knight Grimmer.
So they all started at Firelink, right?
Correct. Well, technically then Grimmer and Lumen showed up in the Undead Burg, and Lumen, he was a cleric, there wasn't much else to say about him.
Okay.
Mainly because we didn't get to find out much about him. Specifically because he left the server mid-RP. Yeah. The following went as such. Suddenly, a massive drake swooped down from the sky. While Grimmer barely managed to duck for cover in time, the cleric's luck was far worse. With a yell, he was snatched by the creature, never to be seen again, for Ludovic had, in the end, been consumed in the foul beast's den.
Speaking of which, what was Grimmer? I know he lost a lot of fights, but can you tell me more about him?
He was a glory-obsessed Balder Knight in Benric armor, who would attack and hunt any sort of game he found, no matter how large. This included Fang Boars, Titanite demons, and more.
What happens next?
Yeah, so, like I said, Mythic was preaching about not only the dragons, but also his depiction of lore, which later on became canon server lore, much to my dismay at the time. You know how Dulk Passat never chose to link the flame or put it out?
Yeah, sure.
It was that.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought that would have been Sirion.
No, it was Mythic.
Really? So that entire thing, the entire crux of Old Canon.
Yes.
Huh.
Yeah, it's weird. They fought the Taurus demon, and there really wasn't much that happened in that fight. Then they reached the Undead Parish. The most noticeable things that happened here were Grimmer almost got himself killed by a Fang Boar where he ripped off one of its tusks and then got stabbed through with the other. Then Sieg was introduced. He was a decent role player, however he had a bit of the habit of fathering people.
Oh no, the motherly character.
Yep, he had motherly character syndrome. Sieg had pulled the tusk out of Grimmer. They were fine, they were generally chill, though their relationship would go down as time went on. A lot of people will say, when you ask them what the first homebrew boss in main canon was, and a lot of people will tell you the Golden Knight. This is incorrect. The first homebrew boss was actually just an elite Benric Knight. Grimmer actually gave a bit of a lore dump on this one because Sirion asked me to.
Okay.
Oh, yep. I think it was about my rank, in fact. He's an elite, capable of using bow or melee weapons. Okay, yeah.
Right, so, I believe next would be the Gargoyles, right?
Correct. The Bell Gargoyles were actually pacifist ran.
Really?
It was old canon shenanigans, aka Grimmer getting into a heated argument with the Gargoyles and lying to them that he was the 5th Knight of Lord Gwyn, thus the bell had to be rung for his promotion ceremony. After enough heated arguing, then Grimmer managed to convince one of them, in which they only had to fight the second gargoyle. Later on, then, they named the first gargoyle Norik.
Really? Is Norik still alive, by the way?
Technically, yes.
Okay. I don't like the way you said technically.
He never appeared after this boss fight.
Dang it. Okay. Well,
he appeared once. But that was only to hint how awesome a certain other character was who I actually think changed for the worse in new canon. And of course, I think this is an appropriate time to talk about the Liberator.
Oh no!
Yeah, this guy was... Okay, so Sieg was introduced with an act of kindness, Grimmert was introduced with an act of curiosity, Sirium was introduced with an act of wisdom, and Mythic was introduced with an act of daring. However, Liberator? He was introduced in an act of arrogance.
Oh, lovely. I think I've heard this line, right? The one where he talks about how easily he could beat everyone.
Yes, he talks about how you weak hollows... Grimmert's just like, we blaze through the undead perish, we can blaze through you too, and Liberator's response is simple. He says, those hollows may have been plenty, but they were still easy, correct? And everybody else was just like, okay, and? This was when the Liberator, out of character, started complaining about how we'd ruined his line, because what he was meaning to say was, comparing you guys to me is just you guys to a crowd of hollows. But the problem was, he was now complaining about how we'd ruined his line, because we were just like, okay, yeah, the hollows there were easy, and?
So even in his first appearance, he's already being a complete edgelord, and complaining because he didn't get to pull off his epic roast.
Yeah.
Okay.
If that alone wasn't enough, well, Sirium's trying to make peace, and everybody else is being like, bruh. He gets into a fight with main canon, and Sieg actually, loses it and starts power gaming at him. He's like, I cut 2 of his fingers off with my sword so that he drops his catalyst. And you wanna know what the Liberator's response is? He says he let Sieg cut his fingers off because it wouldn't matter. And then they start regrowing immediately he says it would only make things worse for the undeads.
If anyone's wondering why it's so hard to get a character accepted into main canon, this is why.
You wanna know how the Liberator got approved? He approved it himself because, oh, he's the co-owner, he doesn't need approvals.
Oh, he's been here since the beginning?
Yeah, he was actually the co-founder of the server.
Yeah, he just didn't roleplay until now.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Later on, you're going to see a few new characters, and not only the fall of the Liberator, but also an introduction of my favorite character in the entirety of old canon, the Golden Knight.
I see. Well, we'll have to deal with that later. Thank you so much for joining me, Mask.
You too? I'll be seeing you then.
Alright. Please like and subscribe, or don't, it's not like I care. And this has been the Lord Ran Time.